I, Marcus Annius Florianus, known to history as Emperor Florian, was born on the 19th of August in the year 232 in the illustrious city of Rome. My early life was one of relative obscurity, overshadowed by my half-brother, the future Emperor Tacitus. Though my lineage and aspirations were no less noble, our mother, of venerable patrician stock, ensured we were raised in an environment steeped in the traditions and values of Rome. Our education was thorough, embracing the full spectrum of knowledge from rhetoric and philosophy to the military arts, essential for any who aspired to public life in our great empire. Our family villa, nestled on the outskirts of Rome, was a sanctuary of learning and refinement. I can still recall the grandeur of the atrium, with its open roof allowing the rainwater to cascade into the central impluvium, and the peristyle garden, a tranquil haven where my brother and I would engage in spirited debates and mock battles under the watchful eyes of our tutors. As a youth, I was particularly captivated by the stories of Rome's great generals and statesmen. I spent many hours in the tablinum, the study room, where shelves of scrolls recounted the deeds of Scipio Africanus, Julius Caesar, and Augustus. My father, a stern but loving man, would often join me here, recounting his own experiences as a soldier and imparting the wisdom he had gained on the frontiers of the empire. One of the most influential figures in my early life was our neighbor, the esteemed Senator Lucius Valerius. His library was a treasure trove of knowledge, and I was a frequent guest in his villa. In the luxuriously appointed triclinium, amidst the frescoed walls and reclining couches, Lucius would host symposia, gatherings of learned men where ideas flowed as freely as the wine. It was here that I first encountered the complex and often treacherous world of Roman politics, a world that would soon become all too familiar. My mother, ever the matron of our household, ensured that my brother and I were well versed in the social graces expected of men of our station. The frequent dinner parties and social gatherings at our villa were a testament to her skills as a hostess. In the vestibulum, the entrance hall adorned with statues of our ancestors, she would greet our guests with a poise and elegance that left a lasting impression. It was here, amidst the marbles and mosaics, that I first met many of the influential figures who would later play pivotal roles in my rise to power. Despite the relative comfort and privilege of my upbringing, I was acutely aware of the responsibilities that came with my heritage. From an early age, I was groomed for leadership, and the expectations placed upon me were immense. I often retreated to the solarium, a sunlit room overlooking the gardens, to contemplate my future. It was in these moments of solitude that I forged the resolve that would carry me through the trials and tribulations to come. As I approached manhood, my path became clearer. My brother Tacitus, already making a name for himself in the military and political arenas, was both a role model and a challenge. Our rivalry was amicable but fierce, each of us striving to outdo the other in service to Rome. Yet beneath the competition lay a bond of brotherhood that would ultimately shape the course of the empire. By the time I reached my 20s, I had already begun my own journey in the military, serving with distinction in various campaigns along the empire's borders. These early experiences honed my skills as a leader and strategist, preparing me for the day when I would be called upon to take my place in the annals of Roman history. In the twilight of my youth, As I stood on the precipice of greatness, I often reflected on the lessons learned within the walls of our family villa. The wisdom imparted by my parents, the knowledge gained from my mentors, and the camaraderie shared with my brother were the foundations upon which I would build my legacy. Little did I know then, as I walked the hallowed halls of our home, that destiny had a far grander design in store for me. The Senate, recognizing the need for a swift transition, reluctantly accepted my claim to the throne. My half-brother's legacy and my own military accomplishments lent credence to my ascension. However, not all were pleased with this decision. In the east, the legions stationed in Syria, loyal to their own general Probus, refused to acknowledge my authority. It was clear that a confrontation was inevitable. Before departing for the impending conflict, I held a final meeting in the tablinum of our villa. It was a somber gathering, attended by my most trusted advisors and friends. The room, with its marble floors and walls adorned with the images of our ancestors, seemed to echo with the weight of history. I stood before them, resolute and determined, outlining my strategy to secure the empire. Rome has faced many challenges, I declared, my voice steady, and we have always emerged stronger. This civil strife will be no different. I will not let the sacrifices of my brother or our forefathers be in vain. The journey to the east was arduous, and my army was weary but resolute. We set up camp near Tarsus, preparing for the inevitable clash with Probus's forces. In the quiet moments before battle, I often found myself in the makeshift solarium of my tent, gazing out at the stars and reflecting on the path that had brought me here. The teachings of my youth, the wisdom imparted by Empress Ulpia, and the memories of my brother's guidance all converged to steel my will. The battle was fierce, and the outcome uncertain. As the days wore on, It became clear that the loyalty of my troops was wavering. Whispers of betrayal reached my ears, and I knew that my position was precarious. In a final act of desperation, I called a council in the triclinium tent, where I addressed my commanders with the same conviction that had driven me to seek the throne. We fight not just for ourselves, but for the future of Rome, I implored them. Stand with me, and we shall restore order and greatness to our empire. Despite my impassioned plea, fate had other plans. The loyalty I had counted on fractured, and I was betrayed by those I had trusted. In the chaos that ensued, I met my end, not on the battlefield as a warrior should, but at the hands of my own men. Whether it was by assassination or suicide remains a matter of historical debate, but my reign, brief as it was, came to an abrupt and violent conclusion. As I drew my final breath, I could not help but think of the atrium of our villa, where dreams of a glorious future for Rome had once seemed so tangible. My story, though short and fraught with peril, was but a single thread in the vast tapestry of the empire's history. Little did I know my legacy would endure far beyond my reign. My time as emperor was fleeting, but it was marked by a fervent dedication to stabilizing and protecting the empire. From the moment I ascended the throne, my days were filled with the urgent affairs of state, military strategy, and the ever-present threat of civil war. The death of my half-brother Tacitus left a vacuum of power, and as I assumed the purple, the weight of the Roman Empire pressed heavily upon my shoulders. One of my first acts as emperor was to solidify my position in Rome. The Senate, though initially reluctant, had accepted my claim, and I knew that maintaining their support was crucial. I spent many hours in the Senate House, or Curia, engaging in spirited debates and discussions with the senators. I emphasized the importance of unity and stability, invoking the memory of my brother and the illustrious emperors who had come before us. In the mornings, I would hold court in the Basilica, the public hall where legal matters and imperial decrees were discussed. The vast space echoed with the footsteps of courtiers, soldiers, and petitioners. It was here that I issued edicts to reform the tax system, aimed at alleviating the burdens on the provinces and ensuring a steady flow of revenue to the state. I also took measures to strengthen the military, knowing that the security of the empire rested on the prowess of our legions. Yet, even as I worked to consolidate power in the heart of the empire, the threat from the east loomed large. Probus, a capable and ambitious general, had been declared emperor by the legions in Syria. His challenge to my rule was not to be taken lightly. I dispatched envoys to negotiate, but their efforts were in vain. It became clear that a military confrontation was unavoidable. Before setting out to confront Probus, I spent time at the family villa, seeking counsel and solace from Empress Ulpia Severina. In the serene peristyle garden, with its colonnades and fragrant flowers, we discussed the impending conflict. Ulpia, ever wise and composed, offered her insights. "You must be prepared for both victory and defeat," she advised, her gaze steady. "Probus is a formidable opponent, and the loyalty of your troops will be tested. Remember, Florianus, that the fate of Rome is greater than any one man." Her words stayed with me as I prepared my army for the march to the east. The journey was arduous, and the morale of my troops was a constant concern. I made it a point to visit the soldiers regularly, sharing meals with them in the field and addressing their concerns. In the makeshift triclinium of our camp, I would sit with my commanders, discussing strategy and bolstering their spirits. The pivotal moment of my reign came near Tarsus, where our forces met those of Probus. The days leading up to the battle were tense, filled with skirmishes and maneuvers, as each side sought to gain the upper hand. I often retreated to my tenth solarium, a small space where I could think and plan in solitude. The quiet of the night under the vast expanse of stars offered a stark contrast to the turmoil of the day. The battle itself was a brutal affair. Despite my efforts to rally the troops, the tide turned against us. Reports of defections and wavering loyalty reached me, and I knew that my position was precarious. In the final moments of the conflict, surrounded by the chaos of war, I faced the harsh reality that in a desperate bid to secure the loyalty of my men, I called a council in the command tent. The atmosphere was tense, the faces of my commanders etched with doubt and fear. I spoke with all the conviction I could muster, reminding them of our duty to Rome and the legacy we were sworn to uphold. We fight for the glory of the empire and the memory of those who came before us, I declared. Stand with me, and we shall prevail. But my words were not enough. Betrayal was in the air, and as the battle reached its climax, my fate was sealed. Whether I was struck down by my own soldiers or took my own life to escape capture, the end came swiftly. My reign, which had begun with such promise, was cut tragically short. In those final moments, as the sounds of battle faded and the darkness closed in, my thoughts turned to the atrium of our family villa. It was a place of peace and dreams, far removed from the violence and treachery of the battlefield. My time as emperor was over, but my legacy, forged in the brief and tumultuous months of my rule, would live on in the annals of history. My end came swiftly and unexpectedly in the turmoil of battle near Tarsus. The final days of my reign were fraught with tension and treachery, a stark contrast to the hopes and ambitions that had fueled my ascent to the throne just months earlier. The morning of my last battle dawned with an ominous stillness. As I prepared for the day's combat, I sought a moment of quiet reflection in my tenth solarium, a small but serene space where I could momentarily escape the chaos. The soft light of dawn filtered through the canvas, casting a warm glow on the few personal items I kept with me. A small bust of my brother Tacitus, a scroll of Virgil's Aeneid, and a dagger that had belonged to my father. The clash with Probus's forces was fierce and unrelenting. Despite my efforts to rally my troops and maintain order, the tide of battle turned against us. Reports of defections and growing dissent among my ranks reached me, casting a shadow over our chances of victory. The loyalty I had worked so hard to secure was slipping through my fingers, and the weight of impending defeat was palpable. In a desperate attempt to restore morale, I called my top commanders to the command tent, the closest thing we had to a triclinium in the field. The tension was palpable as we gathered around the table, maps and battle plans spread before us. I spoke with the same conviction that had guided me throughout my brief reign, urging my commanders to stand firm and reminding them of the legacy of Rome. Men, We fight not just for our lives, but for the honor and future of the empire, I declared. We cannot falter now. Rome has faced greater threats and emerged victorious. Stand with me, and we shall do the same. But the loyalty I sought was already fractured. As the battle raged on, it became clear that defeat was imminent. In the chaos and confusion of combat, I found myself increasingly isolated. Betrayal was in the air, and the realization that my end was near settled heavily upon me. The exact details of my death remain shrouded in mystery. Some accounts suggest that I was assassinated by my own men who had lost faith in my leadership and sought to curry favor with Probus. Others believe that I took my own life to avoid the disgrace of capture. Regardless of the precise manner, my life ended on the 9th of September 276. In those final moments, as the din of battle faded and darkness closed in, my thoughts turned to the atrium of our family villa. I imagined the open sky above the impluvium, the gentle sound of water in the central fountain, and the familiar faces of those I loved. It was a world away from the brutality of the battlefield, a place where dreams of glory and service to Rome had been nurtured. My death marked the end of a brief and turbulent reign, but it was not the end of my legacy. The events that followed would shape the future of the empire, and my name would be remembered, not just for the brevity of my rule, but for the tumultuous and transformative period I had helped navigate. As my life ebbed away, I found a measure of peace in the knowledge that I had served Rome to the best of my abilities. My story, though short and marked by tragedy, was a part of the greater narrative of the empire. In the end, that was all any Roman could hope for, to be remembered as one who had stood firm in the face of adversity and who had given their all for the glory of Rome. The legacy of Marcus Annius Florianus, though forged in the crucible of a brief and tumultuous reign, endures in the annals of Roman history. My tenure as emperor, from June to September 276, was marked by both ambition and adversity, shaping the course of the empire in ways that would resonate long after my death. The immediate aftermath of my demise saw the consolidation of power by Probus, the general who had challenged my rule from the east. Probus was a capable leader, and under his command, the empire experienced a period of stability and military success. His rise to power, facilitated by the very legions that had betrayed me, underscored the precarious nature of imperial authority during these turbulent times. In the years that followed, the Roman Senate and historians reflected on my reign with a mix of respect and caution. My efforts to stabilize the empire and address pressing issues such as military reform and economic stability were acknowledged as noble, even if ultimately unsuccessful. The brevity of my rule meant that many of my initiatives were left unfinished, yet the vision I had for Rome was not forgotten. In the family villa, the place where so many of my dreams and plans had taken shape, my memory lived on. The atrium, with its open roof and central impluvium, became a gathering place for my descendants, who took pride in their connection to an emperor, however short-lived his reign. Empress Ulpia Severina, ever the wise matron, often spoke of our discussions and the strategies we had devised in the peristyle garden. Her words kept the spirit of my ambitions alive, inspiring those who followed to continue striving for the greatness of Rome. Over time, the lessons of my reign were absorbed by future emperors and statesmen. The importance of securing loyalty and the dangers of internal division were starkly illustrated by my experience. Probus, and those who came after him, learned from my fate, understanding that the stability of the empire relied not just on military might, but on the trust and support of both the legions and the Senate. My dedication to reforming the tax system, though cut short, was revisited by later rulers who sought to balance the needs of the provinces with the demands of the central government. The economic challenges I faced were part of a larger narrative of Rome's evolving financial structure, a narrative that continued to unfold long after my death. In the broader tapestry of Roman history, my reign serves as a poignant reminder of the fragility and resilience of the empire. The civil strife that marked my time in power was a testament to the challenges that Rome faced, yet it also highlighted the enduring strength of its institutions. My story, with all its highs and lows, is a chapter in the epic of Rome, a story of ambition, struggle, and the relentless pursuit of greatness. As future generations looked back on my life, they saw a man who had risen to the highest office in the land during one of its most precarious periods. I was a soldier, a statesman, and an emperor, even if only for a brief moment in time. My legacy is one of perseverance and dedication, a reminder that even in the face of insurmountable odds, the spirit of Rome endures. In the end, the legacy of Marcus Annius Florianus is a story of human endeavor and the quest for glory. It is a tale of dreams realized and dashed, of loyalty and betrayal, and of a man who, despite the brevity of his rule, left an indelible mark on the history of Rome. My name, though not among the longest reigning or most celebrated of emperors, stands as a symbol of the complex and ever-changing nature of power and leadership in the ancient world. Thank you for watching. Our channel, known as the Renaissance Spirit, is dedicated to the pursuits of a just, equitable, and humanitarian world. Video topics encompass areas including history, politics, religion, personal development, society, culture, social and environmental justice, and other topics of liberal arts and sciences, including ancient Rome and the Roman Empire, which is a great comparison and contrast of the modern world. Topics perfect for the true modern polymath. The Renaissance ushered in a golden age and the pursuit of knowledge both lost to time and yet to be discovered. It gave birth to the Enlightenment and the Age of Reason, embracing truth, knowledge, and an understanding and compassion for humanity opens up the world to each of us, individually, and improves all of humanity, affording us the opportunity to be better stewards of the earth and to each other. The Renaissance spirit, more than just a philosophy or style, but a style for living, learning, growing, and thinking. Please subscribe, turn on notifications, and share. If you're looking to explore and experience what life has to offer, I'm sure you'll enjoy the other videos on my channel. Please peruse and let me know in the comments what you get out of them and what other videos you'd like to see. But first, please take the quiz next to see if you're a Renaissance spirit. Live the Renaissance spirit.